Investigators are still trying to figure out what caused a Russian jetliner to crash in Egypt.
All 224 people on board were killed, and now we're finding out that the plane may have had some safety issues in the past. So the question is, how do you know if the airline you're flying has a good record? Travel insider Mark Murphy is here with us to answer that. So, Mark, are there carriers that have been deemed unsafe? And if you're a consumer, how do you know?
So there are, and there's certain countries where any aircraft coming from that particular country is banned from places like the EU. So you could go and Google the EU blacklist for carriers and see what their status is. And if they're on that blacklist, you probably don't want to be flying them. And that's one of the first stopping points. Also, if you're originating out of the U.S., if you are going to fly somewhere beyond that initial connection, you may be on another carrier that has a code share agreement that has to have the standards of that particular carrier as well. So you have confidence with those relationships if you're flying major carriers out of the U.S. that you're probably in pretty good hands. It's when you're jumping around, let's say I did in South Africa, and I'm on a bush plane, and it's got a single engine. I have no idea what the maintenance is or anything else. I'm basically rolling the dice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you can be. When I was reporting from Africa, if I was flying into Togo, for example, there's only one national airline that doesn't have the rating to land in the United States. They can't fly to the United States.
Exactly.
And so what do you do then? You're kind of
you
rolling
grow
the
wings,
dice, right?
you're going to grow some wings, or you just go. And unfortunately, what happens, like that Lion Air crash years ago, that airline, Indonesian base, cannot fly to the EU. So therefore, you might have a red flag, but if you need to go somewhere in that part of the world, you're going to have some limited choices.
Yeah. I think we don't know what brought down this plane, but I think right away people wondered if it had to do with, a missile and wars. And, a lot of these planes fly over war zones.
Right.
So should we be concerned if that's the path of your plane?
Here's the thing. If you're saying we can never fly over a conflict zone, then you can pretty much never fly anywhere globally, because you're always going to be flying over certain conflict zones and war zones. Some you can't go over. You can't fly over Iraq today or Syria with North Korea, right? So what happens there is you have to worry about these missiles like that Russian missile, the Buk missile that took down MH17, because that missile can reach 72,000 feet, whereas a shoulder-fired man pad, something like that, has a maximum altitude at the most of 20,000 feet. So the great mystery with this Russian jet, Metro jet, in the Sinai Peninsula is ISIS is claiming that they brought it down, but with what? It was at 30,000+ feet. So that doesn't really make any sense. And I think as we uncover more and more, we're going to learn that it was some catastrophic failure on board, or, hopefully not terrorism. But that's a possibility as well. Right.